There is so much to study from paper 1 to complex legal subjects. That is why we are incredibly honored to have an absolute expert with us today to guide you. His name is Mr. Ishan Dhyani. Sir is an assistant professor, a PhD scholar, and most importantly, he has successfully qualified the UGC NET exam himself. He specializes in intellectual property law and has a brilliant academic background. Today, Sir is here to share his secrets to success. He will teach us how to plan our time, how to analyze past papers, and how to avoid common mistakes. We are so lucky to have his brilliant mind directing us today. With this, I would like to hand over the stage to Sir to set the tone for today's session. Thank you.
Uh, a very good evening, everybody. I hope I'm audible. Can you hear me, please? If you can reply on in
Yes,
the
sir,
chat.
you are audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this session, as informed to you people, will be about as to how we can crack UGC NET. Um, a little bit about myself. My name is Ishan, and I've been working as an assistant professor of law at Lloyd Law College since the past 6 months. Before that, I was working as a Mukherjee Fellow with the Policy Politics Governance Foundation. I was a kind of a consultant in politics and policy for a prominent think tank. Coming to the topic that we have today, it's going to be on the examination of UGC NET. I believe it's scheduled in June, end of June. That's what the notification said. So let's get started. If we talk about the UGC NET paper, first of all, why this paper is important? Well, if one wants to become a university professor, that person needs to crack UGC NET examination. It happens in various subjects. Since here we're going to talk about law, so we'll talk about UGC NET law. This paper is a 300 mark paper with 100 marks being given to paper one, which talks about general English and aptitude, and paper two, which is a 200 mark paper, which talks exclusively about law. These questions are, there is no negative marking in this examination, so you can actually attempt all the questions. Apart, apart from that, one more thing that this paper has is that it's going to be in the CBT mode, which is the computer-based mode. So you need not carry pens or ball pens or pencil for that matter. It's just going to be in an online fashion, this examination. So now as to how do we prepare? First of all, if one needs to crack this paper, one needs to know the syllabus in its totality. So if you people are going to appear for the paper this June or maybe in December, this paper happens twice every year in June and December. And I think only in one year in 2022 it happened thrice because of that paper being leaked and everything. But the normal practice is that happens 2 years only. Recently, there were talks of making it an annual examination, but nothing has been solidified as of now. As to how to just crack this paper, first of all, we actually have to follow this three-step procedure. First, we got to look at the syllabus in its entirety, followed by the um, actual study, and then we need to revise. So we'll go through all these three steps one by one. Talking about the syllabus, when we're preparing for UGC NET, they keep on tweaking their syllabus every 6 months. So it's very important that we go to their official website, the UGC website. It is there that we actually find the syllabus. For general paper, the code is 0000, and if I'm not wrong, for the law subject, it is 058. So there we can actually find the syllabus. There are 10 units in each of these papers. Paper 1 and paper 2, they have 10 units. Um, and once we actually see the syllabus, we can try to zero down our strengths and weaknesses. Since we are going to appear in this examination once our LLM or once our master's is over, we would be having a certain stream as a specialization. For instance, for me, it is IP law or intellectual property law. So in paper two, one of our unit is actually intellectual property rights. So it is not a mammoth task for me to study IPR because I've already studied it for an entire year. So for paper two, I actually have only 9 subjects to prepare because one is of course negated. Talking about the other 9 subjects, let's try to talk about paper one first, and then we can move to paper two. If you talk about paper one is the generic paper, and it is same for all the streams, be it history, political science, maybe chemistry, law, or anything. If you want to become a professor, you have to clear paper one as well. So paper one is having again 10 units. These are teaching aptitude, research aptitude, communication. Then you have people development environment, and you have higher education, then you have mathematics, data interpretation, logical reasoning. Like this, we have 10 distinct units. Um, and they are very generic. However, net being net, UGC being UGC, they love quizzing you on pretty difficult topics. They give you match the following questions. They might give you names of obscure novels or obscure books and tell you to match them with the relevant authors. So it becomes pretty important that you actually pay attention, and put some effort into paper one preparation as well. Because, of course, since you're a lawyer, you've studied for law for 5 years and then for 2 or 1 year, so you would be knowing paper two. But if you cannot just understand paper one, then it won't be taking you anywhere. It would be a futile attempt to just attempt this paper without preparing for paper one. Talking about paper one and as to how we can move ahead with it. Um, if An important facet of paper one is mathematics, and we being lawyers, a whole lot of us are not very well versed with mathematics. A whole lot of us cannot actually do logical questions. We can't do logical reasoning questions. A whole lot of people actually just skip all these parts, and then they cry as to that we are unable to clear this paper. So the key is to crack these three units, that is data interpretation, logic, and maths, is to practice, practice, and practice. You got to pick up a certain topic. For instance, on one day you might pick up percentages, or on some other day you might pick up, let's say, ratio and proportion, and do questions on them. This is just a 10th class level based mathematics, so they're not going to ask you any rocket science. It's going to be pretty basic high school sums. So if we guys just put some effort, I'm pretty sure we can actually crack these three units. And once we get to know them, these are actually free marks because they are based upon simple calculations. And of course, we're having four options, so we can easily make out what answer is right and what is not correct. And if the calculation is too complex, we can always go and try to make an intelligent guess because ultimately there is no negative marking. So even if you just make a correct answer, that won't cause us any harm. Talking about other units, teaching aptitude and research aptitude, you got to study them together because they are linked with as to how teaching happens and how research happens. Apart from that, another important subject that we have here is comprehension. Now, for comprehension, I don't think one should waste his or her time trying to study comprehension because comprehension is basic. You have a paragraph, and then you need to answer the questions based upon that. So that can you do anyways. So when you're trying to just revise the PYPs, which we'll come to just in a minute, or when you're trying to do the mocks, then you can prepare yourself with the comprehension. You need not spend hours and hours doing comprehension. That won't take you anywhere. Followed by the subject of communication. Now, communication might sound easy, but it talks about various models of communication, which are given by various philosophers and various renowned educationists. So we got to actually study them properly before attempting the paper. And the last unit in paper one talks about higher education system. This is pure factual and pure history based unit. So if you just study it properly, cover to cover, then you will be good to go. We talk about various universities in India, UNESCO recognized historical educational sites. So it is pretty black and white. Either you know it or do not know it. So if you have time, which I believe you have right now, if you study it properly, then you can get these marks as well. Jumping to paper two, which is the law paper, we again have 10 units. These are jurisprudence, constitutional law, then we have IPR, we have commercial law, we're going to have comparative constitutional law, then we have law of crimes, we have family law, we have law of torts, and consumer protection. So in total, we also have environmental law. So we have these 10 various legal domains which are crafted into 10 units by the UGC. How do we actually get started with this? First of all, we need to understand the strengths and weaknesses that we have. For instance, for me, IPR has always been a strength. Constitution has always been a strength. So for me, a constitution, IPR, and comparative constitutional law, because it's very, very similar to constitutional law. These were kind of cakewalks. On the contrary, environment law had too many conferences, too many international conferences to remember. So that was where I actually tried to put more effort in. So first of all, you got to understand as to what are your strengths and weaknesses. Because once you are able to do that, then you can easily chalk out a plan for your preparation. Um, but you got to also make a plan intelligently. What you can do is try to club the similar units together. For instance, constitutional law can be clubbed with comparative constitutional law. Why? Because in Unit 10 of Paper 2, we are having comparative constitutional law, which is nothing but the comparison of constitution of various countries. So once you study our constitution in Unit 2, you can actually study it along with Unit 10, that is comparative constitutional law. If you do these, two of your units are done, so you're only having eight of them left. In commercial law, we are having around four acts, which is, I believe, contract, partnership, SOGA, and parts of corporate law. So rather than studying all of them together, you can actually break the unit of commercial laws and study each subject along with some other unit. For instance, you can study contract with jurisprudence. Once you're just bored studying jurisprudence, you can always go to contract or partnership. By this, your workload also reduces and your units are actually covered in a faster fashion. Um, Same goes for IPC or BNS. You will have to study the new BNS. I believe it's 2026 now. It came in 2023. So there is no point in studying the IPC right now. You have to study BNS. That is the way out. Apart from this, case laws. Case laws are very important because just like paper one, in paper two also, UGC loves asking you obscure case laws of some Privy Council judgment. You never even know the year of the judgment. It's some very old judgment, and they ask you questions based upon that. So if you study properly, then in the entire cacophony of options, you would know either one or two might actually ring a bell for you, and then you can make an intelligent guess. This is how you move ahead because you can never ever learn the entire spectrum of case laws. That won't be possible for anybody. So you cannot do that. Uh, Apart from that, another thing that NET does is in Unit 2, in Paper 2 also, they will actually give you comprehension. They will give you huge paragraphs, and on the basis of those paragraphs, you'll be having questions. So this becomes pretty easy because these questions are coming directly from the paragraph. So even if you do not know anything about the subject and you're able to read the paragraphs properly, you'll be able to get those questions done. But the catch is that we as students do not know as to from where are these questions going to come from, which unit are they going to come from. For instance, the net that I gave in 2025 June, that had questions on IPR. So it was pretty easy. And for somebody who doesn't even know IPR, that person could have easily answered those questions because of the paragraph, because it's basic English. Same as Unit 1 comprehension passage. It's the very same thing. One more tip, if you're trying to study people development environment unit in paper one, that talks about various conferences, and this can be easily clubbed with paper two's environmental law. They're the very same thing. Since we are having the advantage of having environmental law in paper two also, unlike other subjects as students, why shouldn't we just exploit this? So when you're trying to study paper one, paper two together, you should actually try to study PDE along with environmental law once you are done with the basic studying, because if you look at the syllabus, you are going to have various pointers in various units. Once you're done with all those pointers, now you got to move to the second and perhaps the most important aspect of the UGCL preparation. It deals with PYPs or previous year papers. If you are not doing the PYPs, if you're not going through the PYPs, I can guarantee you that NET will not be possible for you. You won't be able to become a professor without PYPs. That is something that you actually got to do. Now, how you can do this? Again, you got to go to the authentic source to find the PYPs. Since you're going to appear for the 2026 examination, which will happen in June, So you got to actually get the previous year papers, that is 10 papers. 5 into 2 is equal to 10. Previous 5-year papers, that will give you 10 papers. And out of those 10 papers, for instance, you were studying, let's say, jurisprudence. Now you will have to filter the questions of jurisprudence from each of these papers. Once you get that, you get an entire compendium of jurisprudence questions. And now, once you're able to solve these jurisprudence compendium, then you can say that you're done with jurisprudence. Why should we do this? Well, because A, you will get accustomed to the kind of questions. Somebody is asking, what is jurisprudence? Well, jurisprudence is unit one of paper two of UGC NET. It's a part of our syllabus. So that's why we got to do, or for any other unit also. For instance, environmental law. If for environmental law you are having the PYPs analyzed, you got to make a compendium of the PYPs, and once you have that, you got to solve all of them. Once you solve all of them, you can actually say with confidence that you're done with this unit. Um, a whole lot of books are there in the market, and they're having very simple MCQs at the back of every chapter, every unit. Please try to avoid them. They're not going to take you anywhere. They just give you a feel good factor, but that is not what NET asks you. That is what not UGC asks you. So they are not going to take you anywhere. That is just a futile exercise. If you want to crack NET, you have to do the PYPs. You have to be accustomed to the kind of questions and the level of questions UGC is asking you. Once you're done with this, and I believe these days we are having AI also. So you can use any good AI that you would like to use. You can use Claude, you can use Gemini, and try to get all these questions filtered. Like I did all of them individually. I had to skim through all these papers and meticulously try to filter out all the questions of a particular unit. That's what I did. But I don't think in today's day and age we need this manual labor. So you can do this yourself by using any aid of any AI. That will save a plenty number of hours for you. Once you're done with the PYP analysis, now you have to revise the papers, the units. How do you revise? Well, for instance, you have made 30 or 40 pages notes of constitution law. Now, of course, you cannot just skim through the entire booklet again and again. So I'll tell you what I used to do. I used to make something called as skeletal notes. For instance, I'll take one A4 size sheet of paper and try to jot down the entire pointers of various subpoints in the unit. For instance, in constitution now we are having something called as fundamental rights. Then we are having something called as, let's say, the union or emergency provisions. So I will have one pager of all of them already made, chalked out. And when I go to revise, I'll just skim through these 5 pages. So, if, for instance, this is what I made for this presentation, this session today. So in one page, you can have everything jotted down, and just one glimpse of that page will help you just be done with the paper of that unit. So that's the way with which you can revise. And again, I'm repeating, once you revise, you again have to go and do the PYPs. Also, if you look at the syllabus and if you look at the PYPs, UGC is notorious of asking questions which are not there in the syllabus, but they go well beyond the syllabus and ask you questions. So you got to do those questions. And NET is again notorious for repeating questions. So you never know. If you're lucky, you would actually have the very same question which you did before. So that is again free marks. So that will help you get a good score. Should we do mocks? Well, there are plenty of mocks in the market, and I personally don't find any value in them. They would either be super easy or they would be super difficult. In both the cases, they won't be taking you anywhere. But I'll again say that it's important that you do mocks because if you are doing mocks, you're actually sitting in that 3-year window with that mindset of giving an examination. And since this is a CBT, it's a computer-based examination, I'll tell you from my experience, your eyes begin to water when you're looking at the screen constantly, especially in questions like comprehension, where you have to read the entire comprehension passage. And in the net examination center, you can't even highlight them. You can't even use your mouse to just highlight those important pointers blue. That's not possible. So you got to actually pay excessive attention there. So your eyes begin to water. So if you want to be accustomed to the entire examination atmosphere and how you're going to attend the examination. You have to give mocks, but do not consider your mock score as an indicator of your preparation. That can only be analyzed on the basis of your reading of the PYPs. I am again repeating, PYPs is the way out. It is the Brahmastra for this UGC NET examination. How much you should study? I believe if you are still in college and you're having this NET examination maybe next month or let's say in December, then I think 4 hours a day will be enough. That would take you, that would help you crack this paper. But I have to use to study the entire day. So that's entirely up to you. But I don't think that if you study 4 or 5 hours, that would be more than enough. It is not much of a rocket science, especially for mathematics, DI, and logic. You got to do these things every day. And if you do them every day, you'll be able to ace this paper with flying colors. Yeah, that's all, ma'am. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Do you have any questions, anybody?
Sir, I trust you're doing well. I just wanted to ask that since I'm not an Indian student, I'm a student in South Africa at the University of Johannesburg. I'm studying Bachelor of Laws. So I joined this internship because I wanted to acquire some of those practical skills and techniques that are required from a law student. So how is this session uh, important for me? How is it important?
This session primarily pertains to as to how we can crack the UGC NET examination, which is for university professors in India. Apart from that, if you want to ask me as to why should a person enter the profession of academia at this age, I'm willing to answer that, sir. If one likes to research and if one likes to share the knowledge that one has acquired, if one is interested in trying to study and try to explore new arenas of law, then I believe this is the profession for oneself, and that's why one should pursue this thing. All right. So I thank you everybody for being part of this session. Uh, if you have any doubts, you can ask them in the chat box. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you so much, sir.